Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, we're going to get to do something that we just don't get to do often enough, which is geek out on self-defense laws. And the best way to do that is actually take a look at real-life examples. Because after all, some of the most teachable moments we have comes from actual, true human interaction. Now, today is a very unique one. It comes from a Twitter account that I found called @JihadWatchRS, okay? And it has to deal with a person who was out exercising their First Amendment rights in support of Palestine and Gaza, but chose to wear what was purported to be a fake vest. Well, that got the wheels spinning over here at Washington Gun Law, and so we decided we were going to geek out on that exact topic. So today, let's spend a few minutes and let's talk about real force from fake terrorism. Okay, America, let me set this thing all up because I don't want anyone here to think that I'm taking any side in all of this crap that's going on college campuses and in cities and things like that. Washington Gun Law, we are staying out of that. We're going to try to stay in our lane here. But geeking around on X, there's this account out there @JihadWatchRS. Shows this picture right here. This individual was engaged in pro-Palestinian protest in New York City and was alleged, as you can see here, to have been wearing a fake vest. Yeah, we're beeping it. Why? Because Google's going to crap its pants if we don't. That's why. Now, did some more geeking out there on the internet, and a lot of people came to his defense and said, actually, what he was carrying was smoke grenades. Not sure why you need those, but hey, whatever. Smoke grenades, and that he was wearing a belt to carry them in a much higher position than normal. Here's the thing. Whether it was smoke grenades, whether it was a fake belt, whether it was something else, it doesn't really matter. I don't really care. But here's our hypothetical today, because as you know, when we're trying to teach law, the best way to teach the law is through the hypothetical. And today's hypothetical is that somehow or another, you are involved, and when I say involved, in the midst of a pro-Palestinian protest, okay? So whether it just broke out as you were walking through the city streets, or you're a student at a major state university or an Ivy League school who's merely just trying to have access to your campus so you can go to class, you somehow or another have found yourself in the middle of a pro-Palestinian protest. And while you are there observing what can be described sometimes as erratic behavior, and certainly you are hearing things that would definitely be described as violent, hate-filled rhetoric, you see an individual in very close proximity to you strapped with what appears to be a vest. What can you do in that situation? Not like any of this would ever happen, right? Okay, now let's go back through our basic rules of self-defense. Remember, any force we use, okay, from a fist to a firearm, whether it results in a fat lip or a dead body, the force we use has to be, one, necessary. Number two, it has to be reasonable, both subjectively and objectively. And finally, it has to be proportional, okay? Then, in order to use lethal force in most states, it's only going to be allowed if you or other people in your presence is in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. And then in many other states, you can also use lethal force if a felony is being committed upon your person. But let's go ahead and circle back to those first two, because if a person reasonably believed that they were in close proximity to a person who was wearing a vest, then under the law, they themselves would be in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury, as would everyone else that's in close proximity. And therefore, under the law, they would be entitled to use lethal force. Now, I am not suggesting for 1 second that if this situation were to arise, that lethal force should be used immediately. This is not a tactical course. But would it provide the legal right to use lethal force? It arguably would. And if you're shrugging at that and going, what? Really? You sure about that? Let's just change it from them wearing a vest to them just waving a toy gun around, but a toy gun that looks amazingly real. And they start pointing it at people. And even though it's not armed with anything and couldn't harm a thing, nobody else who's looking down the muzzle of that fake firearm knows it to be fake. Or change the scenario again. If it was a law enforcement officer who saw this activity, how should they or how would you want them to respond? And if you don't believe me there, just go ahead and Google in fake jihadist vests and see how many incidents, particularly in Western Europe, where individuals doing this exact activity found themselves getting unalived. And then finally, if a felony is being committed upon your person, most jurisdictions also believe that that places you in imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury and therefore gives you the legal justification to use lethal force. Also, in almost all jurisdictions that I could find, a bomb threat is in fact felony activity. And if you were to walk up with a person acting as though you have a bomb strapped to you, you clearly, in most jurisdictions, would be committing the act of a bomb threat upon that person, and that too would provide a basis upon which lethal force could be used. Now listen, I doubt most of the people who are engaged in this type of First Amendment activity are checking out Washington gun law. And I, again, have no problem with peaceful exercise of First Amendment rights. But when we start engaging in activity that goes well beyond free expression and now begins to threaten the peace and sanctity of everybody in the area, that actually threatens the safety and the lives of everybody in the area, well, we have long since then crossed out of anything that the First Amendment protects. And if this type of crazy activity continues to increase at what should otherwise be peaceful First Amendment events, it's just a matter of time before this hypothetical becomes a real-life example. Okay, listen, we'd love to hear what you guys all think about it. If you got any other questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now. But if you don't, that's okay. That information down there in the description box. If you got an idea for a video we should be doing around here, you click on that link right there and you tell us all about it. If you want to subscribe to the monthly newsletter, the ability to do that is down there in the description box. And then finally, and most importantly, let's remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching and stay safe.
First individual on call, and for whatever reason, if that goes through, we have actually 3 layers. So we have another and another. So if it continues to ring, it goes from one phone to the next to the next. So we're betting on our chances. The highly compensated team that we have is going to take that phone call. And then from there, they have that privilege, right? They have the attorney-client privilege and that right to share with them, our attorneys, of what just took place. We have a nationwide team of attorneys that's going to be able to reach out to our Arizona attorney to get them on the horn immediately. You know, we've had cases all over the country. Now,
You're not truly prepared unless you have right to bear back you. You will always get an attorney-answered hotline, so you will always have a confidential phone call. There are no cap limits for either civil or criminal defense. This covers all forms of self-defense. So from a fist to a firearm, from a fat lip to a dead body, you are covered, and you will have some of the nation's most passionate 2A attorneys in your corner fighting for you. And right now, if you visit my friends at protectwithbear.com and you use the promo code WGL, you will receive 10% off. Listen, you need to protect yourself so that you can protect them. Visit my good friends at protectwithbear.com.